A diversity, equity, and inclusion survey aims to collect demographic data as well as understand the lived employee experience. Understand things like, what is the employee temperament? Understand things like how included employees feel in the workplace and the fairness employee-wide that organizations emit. Let's break down a DEI survey based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity is the checkbox of the equation. How many people of different backgrounds, gender dynamics, and cultures are represented within your company? Equity shows how opportunity is offered organization-wide. What actions and opportunities are you putting in place for all employees? Unlike equality that insists that everyone is treated the same, equity focuses on different people and recognizing the historical disadvantages they may have had and giving them the right opportunity and the right leg up within your organization. Inclusion is a largely missed piece when companies value DEI. Inclusion is simply how comfortable do people feel in their own skin in the workplace. To create an effective DEI survey, you must move far beyond just the basic information. What opportunities are you creating for people to feel welcome and included in the workplace? To create an effective DEI survey, you must move beyond basic demographic information and understand what the lived employee experience is in your organization. A DEI survey can range whether it's a simple 5-question multiple choice options or up to 12 questions that incorporates not only multiple choice, but short answers. What does it feel like when you walk into the building every day? How do you feel once you leave Zoom calls? Open-ended questions in DEI surveys are key to understand the factors that you may not know when thinking about the lived employee experience. When creating an effective DEI survey, you do not want to alienate employees by asking demographic information that may come off as insensitive to one another. A DEI survey is an organization-wide initiative to ensure that everyone in the company feels heard, respected, and acknowledged. Examples of ineffective DEI survey questions is, when asking for demographic information, ensure that it's multiple choice. There are people in your organizations that identify with multiple races, and ensuring that small caveat to the question can make others feel so much more respected and heard. When asking for sexual orientation, ensure there is a short answer part, so that anyone who identifies within the LGBTQ+ spectrum is able to give candid answers on who they are and what gender identities they represent. When asking for disability, ensure to be careful around the labels. Do not consider or assume that a disabled person would label themselves as disabled. Ask questions like, are you a person that identifies as having a disability? Or, do you have certain accessibility needs? If so, answer how. When asking for disability, don't assume that a disabled person would label themselves as disabled. Ask questions like, are you a person that's living with a disability? Do you have certain accessibility issues? And if so, what are they? Asking open-ended questions around typically uncomfortable topics gives employees the feeling that you want to listen and you're going to do something as a result. If there is one thing you can take away from these Mindstand insights, please make your DEI surveys anonymous. You want to ensure that employees are heard, respected, and also their responses won't be brought up and tied back to their name. Ensure that anonymity is key. You must be forthcoming with the intent of your DEI surveys. Remember this, you're asking employees in the middle of the day, during their free time, to complete this survey. So it's important to tell them what you will do with the results, including sharing the results, how the employee feedback and how they complete the survey will lead towards your DEI initiatives, and ultimately the goals, the personal goals that you have towards this DEI survey. The worst thing you can do is to create a survey without sharing what the intent of the survey is for. Each employee is completing the survey in their free time during their work schedule. It is key that you communicate what the goals of this survey is for and how their responses will lead towards it. So many employees want to feel heard, respected, and acknowledged. ensure that your DEI survey completes each of those 3 boxes. Curious about questions to ask for a DEI survey? Start with the simple questions. On a scale from never to often, ask simple questions like, do you feel that your company values individuals and creates intentional spaces for them to make decisions? Does your organization understand that diversity is a key component to our future success? Does your company welcome groups of all diverse backgrounds, including sexual orientation, gender, geographic region, race, and religion? Does your company provide opportunities to grow and advance your career regardless of your background? A key question, does your company employ diverse leaders that you can relate to? Does your company allow you to bring your whole self to the workplace and feel respected for doing so? Does your company take proactive steps to ensure that the workplace and services are inclusive, safe, and welcoming? And lastly, open-ended questions around current initiatives you have, current questions that have been brought up, and just opportunities for dialogue is an amazing set of questions to ask your employee staff. These diversity, equity, and inclusion questions and recommendations will set you on a straight path towards creating an inclusive and productive workplace. Qualtrics, SurveyMonkey, and Mindstand are excellent tools to get you started on creating effective and important DEI surveys. When DEI surveys are done well, every employee feels heard.